there, I'm CBS 8's Jenny Day. So glad to have you with me as I take you around San Diego. I'll catch you up on our top stories and look ahead at what's to come. We do begin, though, with the growing fentanyl crisis. It brought Mayor Todd Gloria to Capitol Hill just this week. He also attended the National Housing Conference to talk about homelessness. He says fentanyl is fueling addiction in cities like San Diego, adding that homelessness is the toughest part of his job. However, Mayor Gloria says the response must be aggressive and that he'll need the state of California's help to solve San Diego's housing crisis.
San Diego cannot solve the state's housing crisis by itself. And not every city is pro-housing like the city of San Diego. And so we need Sacramento, in our case, to pass legislation to get everyone to kind of catch up.
Yeah, now while in D.C., the mayor also met with the director of National Drug Control Policy and the Homeland Security Secretary. Meantime, we are getting a closer look at a plan that will add thousands of jobs and tens of thousands of homes in Mira Mesa. Pedestrian-friendly urban villages will be built in many areas where strip malls now stand. The urban villages would have businesses on the ground floor and then housing above. It would add up to 24,000 housing units in Mira Mesa. Overall, the plan includes more bike lanes and travel by air with an aerial skyway. The plan would then increase Mira Mesa's population by about 50,000 people.
Having bike lanes and maybe some, lines that are safer so you don't really walk along like a big stream of cars. So that's something that actually can maybe be worked on in the future.
Yeah, critics worry the neighborhood won't have the infrastructure or parks to support that many new residents. This plan was approved unanimously, though, by the City Council on Monday. And a new report predicts home prices and mortgage rates will continue to climb in the new year. When it comes to mortgage rates, experts at Realtor.com expect them to get above 7% before dropping slightly toward the end of 2023. Because of that, home prices are expected to increase by about 4% here in San Diego. But there are some silver linings, like less competition for buyers.
That's going to mean more homes available for sale, and they'll probably sit a little bit longer on the market, giving you more time to make a decision.
Yeah, now she also wants to remind buyers that they should focus on affordability and making sure that you don't get in over your head. And people renting in San Diego could soon see more protections backing them up. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria and City Council President Sean Rivera have come up with what they're calling a new framework. They say that will help people stay in their homes. They said that the ordinance will bring city rules in line with the Tenant Protection Act of 2019, which includes helping mediate issues that could lead to evictions, helping in relocation and rent waivers and more. The proposed ordinance they unveiled would also develop new resources to find rental housing more easily and even new partnerships with nonprofits. Gloria and Rivera say that they also want to give seniors and people with disabilities more time to find new housing when facing a no-fault eviction, and more time for renters overall to fix violations that could end in eviction.
We heard stories from folks who are trying desperately to stay in their homes. They're paying their rent, they're following the rules, but nonetheless, they are finding themselves in situations where they do not know if they will have a roof over their head next month.
Yeah, the city says renters, landlords, and tenant advocates had input on the framework for these protections stemming from City Council's Tenant Protection Workshop back on October 31st. Mayor Gloria asked city staff, along with the city attorney's office, to write an ordinance to bring the framework to City Council for formal consideration sometime next year. Well, get ready to pay a little more for the water that you get right out of the tap. The city of San Diego is raising rates again in just a few weeks. It's the result of a vote by the City Council just earlier this year. CBS 8's Steve Fiorina breaks it down for us.
Postcard in the mailbox this morning, a notification: our water and sewer rates going up. Not a huge increase, 2.5% for water and 4% for sewer usage. If you pay $100 a month, it's a few dollars more. But it's coming at a time of crippling inflation.
I'm concerned that every time we turn around, we get a new rate increase, whether it's SDG&E, the water. I understand you have to pay for infrastructure, but it seems like it is constant.
We're told it's to pay for cost increases for imported water and to replace aging pipes and wastewater mains, as well as to fund investments for future water programs. Utility Consumers Action Network asks if the increased billing is justified.
Whenever UCAN sees proposed hikes, whether it's water from the city, whether it's electricity from SDG&E, we're always asking, really, is it reasonable to do it? Are there other ways?
He zeroed in on the water cost hike.
It is called a pass-through fee, but in years past, the city absorbed prior pass-through charges. Why didn't they do it this time?
And he mentioned transparency and fairness.
There's lots of questions. We don't have the answers to all of those questions.
At what point do you say, you know, enough is enough? Let's just cool down the inflation. Let's stop the price increases. Let's just have a little moratorium on having prices going up.
The rate increase takes effect January 1st. Be prepared. Steve Fiorina, CBS 8.
Steve, thanks. Well, now to a bombshell decision handed down by the San Diego County District Attorney's Office in one of the nation's most closely watched cases. We learned that no criminal charges will be filed against former Buffalo Bills punter Matt Ariza or two of his former SDSU Aztecs teammates accused of gang raping a 17-year-old girl at an off-campus party last year. Ariza, nicknamed the Punt God, was cut from the Bills roster in August in the wake of these allegations. CBS 8's Richard Allen has more on why this decision by prosecutors is not the end of this case.
He was very happy. Heard his mother crying in the background.
Kerry Armstrong, who represents Matt Ariza in the criminal case, says he was confident the district attorney would decline to file charges.
I never not even for a second thought that he was lying to me about what happened that night.
According to the civil lawsuit, that night in October 2021 at an off-campus Halloween party, Ariza led the then 17-year-old girl who was heavily intoxicated to the side yard of the house and had sex with her, then took her inside to a bedroom where the two other defendants were present. According to the suit, she was thrown onto a bed where she was raped over the course of 90 minutes.
That's not what happened. Matt Ariza never went inside the house that night, and I dare anybody to show me some proof that he did.
Ariza's civil defense attorney also points to video evidence that the alleged victim presented herself at the time as 18 years old, and also claims she made a sexual advance to Ariza, saying in a statement, quote, "Mr. Ariza did not force, demand, or coerce the plaintiff to do anything." Just days after that civil suit was filed, Ariza was cut from the Buffalo Bills roster.
But this is far from a vindication.
Dan Gillian represents the plaintiff, who is now 18 years old.
Clearly she's not happy.
Gillian says he's not surprised the district attorney declined to pursue charges, pointing to the much higher burden of proof that must be met in a criminal case, where all 12 jurors must be convinced of guilt to secure a conviction, compared to a civil case.
If 9 out of 12 jurors believe they probably did it, then that's enough to show liability.
The DA's office says that it conducted interviews with over 35 witnesses, examined the rape kit test and the DNA collected from it, and conducted 10 search warrants. In the meantime, the civil lawsuit against Ariza and his two former teammates is continuing forward.
There's no doubt that multiple men had sex with her when she was extremely intoxicated as a 17-year-old, and she's suffering from PTSD from that. That's the reality of it. Whether or not the DA thinks that that's a crime is really secondary to our objective.
Knowing what I know about this case, Dan Gillian's going to have a very hard time proving this case in front of a jury. A very hard time.
Richard Allen there reporting, and over the next few days, an answer to the civil lawsuit is expected to be filed in court, which will lead the way to witness depositions, including the alleged victim. So while criminal charges are off the table, this case is far from over in terms of civil litigation. As for Ariza, he has expressed interest in getting back to the NFL. Well, westbound Interstate 8 near the beach was closed for 8 hours Wednesday night so that Caltrans could test a new wrong-way driver sensor system. Pavement markers, LED lights, and an audible warning have all been installed on the Sunset Cliffs Boulevard off-ramp in hopes of saving lives in the future.
Anytime we're seeing areas of a high capacity of bars and people drinking and then potentially driving, yes, it's going to make a huge impact and at the end of the day, save lives.
You know, this is a pilot program. Caltrans hopes to set up 70 of those sensors across the region. Well, a new study by Stanford University shows that pandemic stress physically aged teenagers' brains. In this learning curve report, CBS 8's Shannon Handy spoke with one of the researchers as well as a local psychiatrist about these alarming findings.
Doctors here at Rady Children's Hospital have long said the pandemic impacted kids' mental health. This new study further proves that.
This is significant because it's the first demonstration of physical alterations in the brain as a function of having experienced the pandemic.
Ian Gottlieb is a professor of psychology at Stanford University. He's one of the researchers behind a new study which found the brains of teens around the age of 16 who were assessed after the pandemic shutdowns ended appeared several years older than those of teens who were assessed before the pandemic. Until now, those accelerated brain changes have only been seen in children experiencing chronic adversity such as neglect and family dysfunction.
To see a study that's actually showing structural changes in brain structure was fascinating and really adds another layer to the discussion we've been having for the last 2 years.
Dr. Willa Jenkins is the director for Emergency and Consultation Liaison Psychiatry at Rady Children's Hospital, where this year alone 5,000 kids have visited the emergency department with mental health concerns. She says this study highlights the need to further address the issue.
We cannot become complacent thinking that, oh, because the stressors stabilize, we don't need to do more. This is the time that we need to step in, get into the schools, find these children, and really work at doing everything we can to improve their mental health.
The study was not originally designed to look at the impact of COVID-19 on brain structure. Before the pandemic, Stanford had recruited a cohort of children and adolescents to analyze depression during puberty. Shifting gears, they decided to compare those brain scans to ones taken of kids the same age after lockdowns. Moving forward, Gottlieb and his team will continue to assess these same teens into early adulthood to find out whether or not those changes are permanent, and if so, what mental health challenges they present, if any.
To see if this is continuing or if this was a short-term reaction to the stress of a pandemic.
Dr. Jenkins says she's eager to learn more, suggesting researchers also look at the brains of younger children as well as those from various socioeconomic backgrounds.
I think anything that's showing this type of change in children's brains leads to so many questions. So I'm incredibly interested to follow along with the study and to see more things coming out, looking more at this in detail.
Shannon Handy, CBS 8.
Really interesting, Shannon, thanks. Well, newly elected San Diego Unified Board of Education members were sworn into office this week. Shanna Hazan was elected to office by voters in Sub-District B. Dr. Cody Peterson was elected in Sub-District C. We spoke with both about what comes next.
Start developing those plans in partnership with teachers, with students, with community members, so we can create the district we all want.
The ceremony also included a look back on Kevin Beiser's 12 years of service as he transitions out. Well, local researchers are one step closer to a cure for Alzheimer's disease, a disease that affects 6.5 million Americans. CBS 8's Ariana Cohen went to the Salk Institute and introduces us to a scientist with what could be a groundbreaking discovery.
1 in 9 Americans ages 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's this year, according to a recent report. Scientists here at the Salk Institute are working on finding effective treatments. I spoke with a lead researcher who has some exciting findings. Joseph Hurdy is a UCSD graduate working at the Gage Laboratory of Genetics at the Salk Institute in La Jolla. Hurdy and other Salk scientists took skin cells from people with Alzheimer's disease and converted them into brain cells called neurons.
And so now we have neurons from both Alzheimer's patients and neurons from healthy people, and we can kind of compare differences between these two populations.
What they found is that people living with Alzheimer's have neurons that show deterioration and undergo a late-life stress process called senescence.
And this is an interesting finding because people don't typically think of neurons as being pro-inflammatory, but the ones that transition to this senescent state kind of have a gain of function where they become inflammatory late in life.
He also says there is some overlap between cancer and Alzheimer's neurons.
And this shift of how the cells make their energy actually is a shift that kind of happens in cancer cells too. There's a lot of interesting overlap between kind of cancer phenotypes and the changes that we see in these Alzheimer's neurons. And we think that it actually might be related to some of these sort of senescence activation that we see, because senescence is a strategy that the body uses to prevent cancers from forming.
Hurdy and researchers are discovering that targeting the deteriorating neurons could be an effective strategy to treating or even preventing Alzheimer's disease.
So we were interested, in kind of exploring new avenues, sort of different molecular features of the neurons of people who have Alzheimer's disease. And so although a lot of work needs to be done to be able to bring this to an actual clinical setting, this is a potentially new therapeutic avenue for treating AD.
Ariana Cohen, CBS 8.
There's so much hope, right? And all that research just happening in our own backyard. Well, the CBS 8 staff is giving back. Our team here stepped away from the newsroom and volunteered at Feeding San Diego, an organization that provides food for those in need. Once again, Ariana Cohen volunteered and also shares how you can help.
I'm here with some of my co-workers from CBS 8. Say hello. Hi. And we're all helping pack up food to give to the community before the holidays.
There we go.
The CBS 8 team is working with Feeding San Diego to give hope and share joy, a campaign designed to help provide nutritious foods to local families in need this holiday season.
We are a well-oiled machine. It truly is the best time of the year to just remind yourself to give back, do some good, and happy to help today.
I am packaging cucumbers, and I think I just realized that pickles come from cucumbers, right?
If you don't have a cadence, then you're losing efficiency here in the process.
CBS 8 staff are sorting through cucumbers, packing the healthy ones for those in need, and the cucumbers thrown out will be given to farmers to feed their animals so nothing goes to waste.
The other day, I met a family that lived in a dark house because they couldn't pay for their electricity, and knowing that we're packaging up food for a family like that feels wonderful.
The Hunger Relief Organization is asking for your help to offer hope for children, seniors, and military families. Every dollar donated provides 2 meals.
Times are tough, and people. This is for people, seniors being able to live on their own, for kids being able to stay in school, for families being able to stay in their homes, and it really feels good to be with our News 8 team and be able to make a difference.
Today, every donation is matched up to $10,000 thanks to Traycon Pharma.
Box coming in.
The CBS 8 team packed more than 3,500 pounds of cucumbers, which will help nearly 900 families for the holidays.
I feel like I'm contributing to the greater good of San Diego.
We are giving back. We are giving our time, and it's just the right thing to do, and hopefully it makes the holidays a little bit brighter for some families in San Diego.
If you would like to make a donation of food or money, just head to cbs8.com. We posted a link there. Reporting in Sorrento Valley, I'm Ariana Cohen for CBS 8.
It really did feel good to give back. We can all do our part. Well, hey, a second In-N-Out will be coming to National City very soon. The council approved the fast food chain to open a new and larger site, but concerns of traffic issues always arise at In-N-Out restaurants, which is what National City is already dealing with. To alleviate some of that traffic, the city has approved to open a second In-N-Out location on Plaza Drive with hopes of minimizing congestion at the first location.
We are able to mitigate any issues with traffic over the next 2 years. So if we do see any additional traffic flows that develop, we are able to mitigate them over 2 years, and In-N-Out would be paying for that.
Yeah, so an official opening day for the new location has not been confirmed. However, the burger company has announced that other new potential locations could also include Chula Vista and San Ysidro. Traveling during the holidays can be stressful enough, you know this, but our local TSA wants passengers to know what they are doing to keep you safe. Our Brian White got an exclusive tour of their security checkpoint where he got to meet one of their newest additions who has a special nose for sniffing danger.
I'm here at San Diego International, where TSA is giving me a behind-the-scenes look at how they're keeping travelers safe this holiday season.
Good girl, Mama. It's good girls.
Meet Mimi, San Diego International's newest addition to their security team. If there's danger lurking, she's sure to sniff it out.
Very powerful. She's hit stuff probably 100 yards away.
She's a 2-year-old German short-haired pointer. She and her handler, Daniel, just graduated from training school in Texas, where she learned to use her nose to find explosives. And now they're on the job here in San Diego.
Basically walk her around, let her sniff passengers, their bags. We'll search gates, terminals, and she's trained to search under seats, take the counters.
Next, TSA took me to a security checkpoint. Here's where they check IDs for verification.
We need to make sure that travelers are who they say they are. So the officer will take the photo ID, insert it into the CAT unit.
This is a fake ID they use for training.
What's happening there is this is a fraudulent ID. The unit detected that.
Make sure your pockets are empty.
Next up is where bags are inspected with a computed tomography or CT scanner.
Those generate a 3D X-ray image of the contents of a carry-on bag. Number one, the officer can get a better view of the bag, but more importantly, when your items are screened through a CT scanner, you leave everything in your bag, including your electronics and your travel-size liquids.
And if you have medically necessary liquids that you need to carry on, they can check those with this bottle liquid scanner.
So what it does is it looks at the density of the liquid to ensure that it is safe to fly, that it can be in the cabin of the aircraft.
And if they need to, they can even swab your hands or your electronics for any trace of bomb residue using this detection unit.
At TSA, we have to be right 100% of the time. The traveler only needs to be right once.
What'd you find? What'd you get?
Above all else, TSA has their new secret weapon making the rounds, and if you're wondering what motivates her,
It's a little colorful ball. It's called a Chuck It, and this is what she works for.
For Mimi, it's the small things she appreciates.
You gonna show them what you got?
At San Diego International, Brian White, CBS 8.
Thank you to all for keeping us safe, truly. Well, phase 2 of the long-awaited improvements for the Imperial Beach Pier just kicked off. Since last year, crews with the Port of San Diego and IB City leaders have repainted, repaired, and cleaned up the entire pier. They've also added some murals and rod holders for fishermen. Phase 2 will include adding a new shade structure and cable railing near the restrooms there at the end of the pier. Well, NASA's historic Artemis mission is now in the final stretch of its journey. The unmanned spacecraft is now on its way back to Earth. It's expected to plunge through the atmosphere and splash down just off the coast of San Diego, right into the Pacific Ocean on Sunday. NASA has held special training exercises with the military leading up to the spacecraft's return. A Navy ship will then help retrieve it from the ocean.
Last week we went to sea with them and used the ship to do some training. We also use helicopters from North Island. HSC-23 is the squadron that supports us, and we use divers from Coronado.
NASA says it will have a live feed of the spacecraft as it plunges into the water off of our coast again this Sunday. You can count on our coverage. That will mark the end of this mission, which started back on November 16th. Wow. Well, it has been 81 years now since the attack on Pearl Harbor. So this week, we are certainly remembering the handful of survivors left from that day and those we lost. The USS Midway Museum hosted a commemoration ceremony right there on the flight deck, complete with a missing man flyover, a wreath laying, and a 2-bell ceremony honoring survivors who we've lost just in the past year.
It's just continuing the legacy of our father, which, when you have a father like we had, it's just what you do. He was an honorable man in every sense of the word.
Yeah, got to keep that legacy alive. 2,400 Americans were killed on that day back in 1941. Well, it is official. Time's 2022 Person of the Year is Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. The 44-year-old Ukrainian president has been called a hero by many while he continues to lead his country against Russian forces. In an essay for Time magazine, reporter Simon Schuster wrote that Zelensky's success as a wartime leader has relied on the fact that courage is contagious. Well, the first marijuana dispensaries are coming to National City. City leaders approved 3 storefronts and also gave the green light to the county's first consumption lounge. As CBS 8's Regina Urito found out, it could be the start of a budding trend.
California College of San Diego's former building will now be turned into a marijuana lounge. Tonight I talked to the city, who tell me this will be the first one in National City with potential for more. National City has high expectations. After months of dealing with a 3-part permit process, 3 cannabis businesses have now been approved to move forward with their plans.
In our ordinance, we approved up to 6, but yesterday we only approved 3 of them. We're going to take, in the next couple of months, consideration of the other 3. There's some that are still in reviews.
But one business, Session by the Bay, is breaking the glass ceiling even further by remodeling a former college building on Marina Drive into a marijuana lounge. That means abandoned classrooms will be replaced by what could look like a massive local dive bar, but with marijuana on tap.
Revolutionary. First in line. Many to come.
Consumption lounges are considered the next big thing in the industry. These lounges let patrons buy cannabis products and consume them all in one location. They have become popular in areas like Palm Springs, San Francisco, and Los Angeles, but several safety and health factors have hindered their expansion in other places. And in National City, some locals have voiced the same concerns.
Especially, them coming out of the lounge, they could cause maybe an accident or something. They're going to be a little high,
Council member Jose Rodriguez says the cannabis business should bring in additional tax revenue, while at the same time attracting tourists. Rodriguez also believes the legal weed industry will challenge the local black market.
It's important that we make sure that we take care of the illicit market in National City, get it out of the neighborhoods, and make sure that we fully legalize the industry. We passed this proposition in the state of California.
As for consumption concerns, Rodriguez says the lounge will have security and strict protocols in place. Now, there is no exact date when this lounge will open. However, the city tells me it will take up to 9 to 10 months for remodeling to happen. Regina Urita, CBS 8.
Well, the holidays, you know it, are here, and with numerous parties and gifts expected this month, waste will really stack up across the county. Our chief meteorologist, Carlene Chavez, teamed up with Project Clean Water for tips on staying eco-friendly. She also answers the top question on the minds of many San Diegans.
Yes, the holidays are finally here, and we have the perfect weather to celebrate outdoors. I'm at Choyas Lake Park, where I'm telling you how you can be environmentally conscious while still having a good time with your friends and family.
So, is it recyclable or not? So it looks like all of these are recyclable.
Yay! Okay.
So good job.
And apparently I'm not the only San Diegan who wants to know this holiday season. According to HomeAdvisor.com, the #1 most searched topic on Google for San Diego is whether or not Christmas wrapping paper is recyclable. The answer is yes, unless it features this element.
Metallic wrapping paper cannot be recycled, and that has to do with the inks that they have.
And if you want to go one step further, Chelsea McGimsey with Project Clean Water suggests wrapping paper with soy-based inks or brown paper wrapping found at mail packing stores. But she points out that these particular gift wrapping accessories could land you on Santa's naughty list.
Talking about these, so these are not recyclable, correct? That is correct. And all of these are not recyclable. Even the bag they're in, because it's soft and you can ball it up.
In fact, gift wrapping bows are slicked with a thin coat of plastic to give them that shine. It makes them a single-use plastic waste. Chelsea says just remember these rules when it comes to disposing of plastics.
Maybe it's a wrapping for something you got for Christmas, but if you can ball it up in your hand, that needs to go in the trash. We don't have the ability to recycle soft plastics. They tend to get stuck in the machines that separate all of our materials. If it's a hard plastic, that can go in the recycling as long as there's no food on it.
And with the amount of trash that we rack up here in San Diego during the holiday season on top of our everyday waste, we need to be mindful of our county's watershed health. In fact, household waste increases by roughly 25% from Thanksgiving to Christmas. If our waste is not handled properly, it is a major issue, especially for our ocean.
About 80% of the trash that reaches our oceans is actually coming from inland. So this is all getting carried down as it rains or, when it's windy, carries it into our waterways, which then convey it to the oceans.
So whether you're celebrating at home, work, or outside across our county in places like Choice Lake Park with the ducks, just remember that the waste you leave behind could be more unpleasant than getting a lump of coal in your stocking, especially during the rainy season.
But if you're near a roadway, it can also end up in a storm drain. And that can clog, and those storm drains were built to prevent flooding. So the next time it rains, if you've got a bunch of trash clogging that, then that neighborhood's gonna flood.
And that sounds like a bigger headache than holiday travel. Please have a happy and safe holiday season, San Diego. For CBS 8, I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis.
Yeah, important conversation, important information. Carlene, thanks. Well, Sharp Memorial Hospital believes that healing is about much more than just medicine. As we take you into the Zevely Zone, Jeff finds healing from the heart.
Here in the lobby at Sharp Memorial Hospital, thanks to a volunteer and soon-to-be doctor, friendly faces await.
Happy. It makes me really happy.
Until you volunteer at a hospital, you'll never really know how the color of your personality could make a difference.
All of these people are heroes. Doctors and nurses and physical therapists and people from all sorts of different departments of the hospital.
Mustafa Halim often paints with hospital patients to lift their spirits. But this project is a tribute to the hardworking healthcare staff.
I'll be most happy when I see the reaction. When the work is finished.
It's wonderful.
Victor Johnson is the hospital's Environmental Services Operations Manager.
It looks great. Good job. And this is me in the middle.
His face is a work in progress.
Oh, that's spot on.
It looks like me, definitely.
In 2017, we watched the Arts for Healing program share its love with premature babies.
Your story was one of my favorite stories of all time.
Oh, darling, I'm with you.
Amy Andrews was the musician that day, and now she's the program's coordinator.
Health and wellness is more than the physical body, it's also the spirit. And the spirit is moved by the arts. May it be storytelling, like the stories you tell, music, art, drama, poetry, all of that impacts how we are seeing ourselves in the moment, how we feel in the moment, and the story we're telling about ourselves.
Along with painting, Mustafa's also been collecting messages and cutting and crafting them into a three-dimensional collage.
Hundreds of healthcare workers wrote their well wishes and prayers onto tiny scraps of paper, which were folded up and then pasted onto the installation.
Well, I can say this is a hybrid of a face, a smiling face.
There's a reason these caring hands are holding a smiling heart.
My life's mission is to become a doctor, a physician.
Mustafa will someday be a cardiologist, but until then, he'll share his heart through art.
Thank you so much.
In the Zevely Zone, Jeff Zevely, CBS 8.
Yeah, so beautiful and just so many good people in our community. Mustafa's installation will then hang inside Sharp Memorial Hospital. For more information on the Arts for Healing program, which is philanthropy funded, visit the Zevely Zone page on CBS8.com. We do leave you, though, with big news from the Padres. This all happened during baseball's winter meetings here in San Diego. The Padres have signed Boston Red Sox star shortstop Xander Bogaerts to a massive new deal, a reported $280 million over 11 years. This is the same position as Fernando Tatis Jr., though, and Ha-Seong Kim. So we shall see what happens. But man, is it exciting for our team and the entire entire county. Go Pods. As always, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for staying informed. Join me each week as I take you around San Diego. For CBS 8, I'm Jenny Day. Take good care of yourself.